Stand by for signal.
Hello and welcome to 3 Stories Written by Me, where I read you 3 stories written by me. First up is Cash This Toll Booth, where a man is unwilling to pay his toll. Richie's eyes shot open as his tires rumbled over the strip. He jerked the wheel, heart pounding, and swerved back into his lane. 9 miles into a 22-mile stretch of bumfuck nowhere, surrounded by nothing but empty fields and skeletal patches of forest. A distant glow cut through the fog ahead, a lonely beacon in the Ohio wasteland. A road sign flickered past, its paint chipped and faded. Toll required, no exits. Since turning off, there had been no exits, no gas stations, no towns, just miles of nothing. Well, he had quarters and an easy pass. No big deal. The booth emerged through the haze, a rotting box of wood and glass, standing like a relic from another time. The mechanical arm stretched over the road, its red and white stripes peeling like dead skin. Another sign, nailed to the booth's side. Toll required, no exceptions. The stagnant heat pressed against him, thick and suffocating. The night was too still, not a whisper of wind. The air felt wrong, like the road itself was holding its breath. At first, the booth looked empty. Then the darkness inside stirred. A shape unfolded from the shadows. The old man behind the glass moved in disjointed twitches, like a marionette being guided by unseen hands. His eyes hovered just past Richie, never quite settling. He leaned forward, jerky and weightless, too slow at first, then all at once. The words crackled through a dusty speaker, a beat behind the movement of his lips. Richie sighed. How much? The man's head tilted, then snapped upright.
I'll have the wedding band.
Richie froze. My wedding band. The toll collector's lips curved upward, something close to a smile, but not quite right.
Pay the toll now or later.
Richie swallowed hard. I'll pay later.
Very well.
The old man withdrew into the shadows. The rusted arm groaned upward. Terror coiled in Richie's gut, cold and leaden. He gripped the wheel, knuckles white, afraid to look left. He slammed on the gas. 3 hours later, he reached this silent house. His wife had died 6 months ago, but he still wore his ring. It made him feel like she was still around with him. He collapsed into bed, exhausted. Morning light seeped through the blinds. Richie stretched, his thumb brushing against his ring. He thought of... His stomach twisted. He couldn't picture her face. Heart pounding, he rushed to the framed photo on the wall. There she was, smiling, frozen in time. He let out a shaky breath. He turned away. Gone. Her image had vanished from his mind, draining away like ink in the rain. Richie sank to the floor and wept. The toll had been paid. Our second story is 12 Steps to the Grave, where a man is about to make a potentially lethal decision. Joe stumbled out of the bar, keys in hand. He was pretty sure he was fine for the short drive home. As he walked toward his car, he noticed a sign. Midnight AA. Well, he had some time to kill to sober up. And last he checked, AA meetings had free coffee. It wouldn't hurt to sober up a little bit either. The stairs creaked under his weight as he made his way down to the church basement. He nearly fell through the door into a meeting already underway. Welcome, brother, said a man in a knit sweater, his clerical collar just visible. Come, have a seat. Joe hesitated, then took a chair. He might as well ride this out. Jane was just about to share, the priest said. Jane sniffed. When Kenny and I drank, we always fought. One night, instead of his fists, He hit me with a lamp. The glass cut my throat, and I bled out on the spot. Joe waited for a laugh, a punchline. The others only nodded in solemn understanding. David, your turn, said the priest. David cleared his throat. I used to drink from the slop bucket at my friend's bar. Every spilled drink, every cigarette butt, straight down. One night, I finished the whole thing. Pain shot through my arm, and when the paramedics came, I was dead on arrival. Joe sat forward. Hold on. You aren't dead if you're sitting right here. Everyone turned to him. Their faces were full of pity. A chill ran down Joe's spine. The priest sighed. I'll go next. He stared at the stained linoleum. It was late. I'd just given last rites to a 7-year-old leukemia patient. The scotch didn't help. By midnight, I had a shotgun in my mouth. Joe shot to his feet, his chair clattering behind him. I'm out of here. That's all right, said the priest. Stay on your path, and you'll be sharing your story in no time. Joe's vision blurred. The floor tilted under his feet. Pain. He gasped awake, body screaming, lungs thick with something metallic. Bright lights burned his eyes. Machines beeped all around him. A nurse appeared and hurried out of the door. A moment later, a police officer walked in and sat beside the bed. You know where you are? He asked. Joe groaned. No. The cop exhaled through his nose. You ran straight into a power pole. You reek of alcohol. You're lucky you didn't kill anyone. Joe swallowed, throat raw. He turned his head and froze. On the bedside table, next to a foam cup of water, sat a newcomer coin. It was a 24-hour sobriety chip. Our final story for the evening is Voices in the Trenches. It would be naive to think that the only horrors of war are in the physical realm. The loose ground shook violently as death rained down from the sky. Deafening, constant shrieks tore through the night, each followed by impact after impact into Der Schützengraben. Hans huddled against the trench wall, clutching his helmet with both hands, praying the screaming barrage wouldn't claim him next. It was the fall of 1918. The air was crisp but rotten with the stench of decay and shit. Hans had been fighting for as long as he could remember, it seemed. A forever war with only one end for him. During a pause in the bombardment, Hans scrambled to find his G98, lost somewhere in the chaos. Panic gripped his very core, as he knew an attack could come at any moment. Der Nachschut fought desperately to buy the retreating forces time. A ringing sharp as a tuning fork filled Hans's ears, making everything else sound distant. Around him, men screamed in anger, fear, pain, and joy. Like a mob at a beer hall brawl, Aus der Hölle. The noise was wild, unrelenting, and out of control. Comrades flanked Hans on either side, packed tight and braced for the signal to fight. No one spoke coherent words. Only raw, primal sounds filled the trench. Deckung! The last word Hans heard before the world exploded. Dirt, blood, and bodies swallowed him in an instant. The roar of an oncoming train echoed in his skull. Then nothing. When Hans regained awareness, he was buried beneath a meter of muck and mangled flesh. He thrashed wildly, the instinct to live overpowering everything else. Clawing free, he gulped in the cold, foul air and scanned his surroundings. Training took over as he searched for the wounded and the enemy. Nearby survivors struggled to regroup amid the chaos. Amanda Hans's left was clutching a stump of a leg, his screams blotted out by the wall of sounds, smells, and dust. Hans was rattled, but otherwise unharmed. It was Hans's biggest fear to return home incomplete.
Hilf! Ich bin Herr!
Cried a voice from what seemed to be the trench wall.
Jesus! Hilf mir!
The plea came again, muffled but desperate. It was unmistakably coming from a solid section of dirt. Confused, Hans grabbed his spaten and began digging. Far off, rallying cries spurred him to work faster.
Oh God! Es tut weh! Bitte hilf mir!
Voice choked with pain and terror. Hans' shovel struck metal, the sharp clang jolting him. He scraped away the packed clay to reveal a rusted spike, remnant of a piccolobe, an old helmet from the Franco-Prussian War. Leather scraps clung to the yellowed bone. Hans stumbled back as more dirt fell away, revealing a grinning skull. Tarnished metal glittered among the avalanche of earth. The cries ceased. The silent, empty eye sockets seemed to mock his fear and envy his life. Hans was left with the distant clash of rifles and the unrelenting chaos of war. Thank you for listening. All of my stories are linked below. Have a wonderful evening.